Hi, I'm Aloha McGregor, a licensed professional counselor and owner of Mending Minds Counseling and Coaching Group. One of the things that I believe is that understanding why we think, feel, and respond the way we do is just as important as learning how to change it. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a concept that I frequently teach my clients to help them better understand themselves, their emotions, the patterns that influence their daily lives. Let's get started. Today, I want to walk you through two concepts that are probably going to come up a lot if we work together. Not because I need you to memorize therapy terms, but because I need you to understand how your mind, your emotions, and your nervous system are working together. Because a lot of us are walking around reacting to life without realizing that the story we're telling ourselves about what's happening is what's actually creating a large part of our distress. And once you understand that, you start getting some of your power back. So today we're going to talk about thoughts, feelings, behaviors, assumptions, emotional responsibility, and something called the Reticular Activating System, or the RAS, which is basically your brain's filter. And I promise I'm going to break this down in plain language. CBT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. But honestly, the important part is not the therapy term. The important part is understanding this. What you think impacts how you feel, and how you feel impacts how you behave. Something happens. You tell yourself a story about it. That story creates a feeling. And then your behavior comes out of that feeling. And a lot of times, this process happens so fast that we don't even realize we're doing it. Somebody comes into the house and slams the door. Immediately, your mind starts talking. Now you might think, they're mad at me. What did I do now? Here we go. I'm not dealing with this tonight. Or maybe they probably had a rough day. Maybe this isn't even about me. Same door, different story, different emotional reaction. And depending on which thought you attach yourself to, your body responds differently. One thought creates anxiety. One creates anger. One creates sadness. One creates neutrality. The event itself didn't create the emotion by itself. The meaning assigned to the event created the emotion. And here's where we get ourselves into trouble. A lot of times we assign meaning, value, and responsibility for our feelings and behaviors to other people. And then we assign meaning, value, and responsibility for other people's feelings and behaviors to ourselves. So now we're walking around saying things like, you made me feel this way. You made me act like this. I can't say that because I don't want them upset. I don't want them mad at me. I don't want them to leave. If they react badly, it's my fault. But CBT teaches us something really important. Nobody is responsible for your thoughts, your feelings, or your behavior except you. And you are not responsible for theirs. Now, can people impact us? Absolutely. But impact and responsibility are not the same thing. Something happens over there. They have a thought about it. Their thought creates a feeling, and their feeling impacts their behavior. Same thing for us, which means their behavior is often more about their internal process than it is about you. Nobody is responsible for your thoughts, your feelings, or your behavior except you. And you are not responsible for theirs. Most of our emotional distress comes from assumptions. Because the truth is, none of us are mind readers. So when somebody behaves a certain way, we create a narrative about why. And most of the time, we immediately go negative. They don't care about me. They did that on purpose. They're trying to hurt me. But here's the question. Can you prove that with 100% certainty? Most of the time, the answer is no. You absolutely have the right to your feelings. You have the right to be angry, sad, disappointed, frustrated, hurt. But you also have a responsibility to manage the intensity, the frequency, and the duration of those feelings. Because eventually, you end up paying the consequences for somebody else's behavior. Now, let's connect this to the Reticular Activating System, the RAS. The RAS is basically your brain's filter. Its job is to filter out things that don't line up with what's important to you and filter in things that do. The problem is your brain decides what's important based on what you consistently focus on, think about, and talk about. So if all day long I'm saying nothing ever works out for me, people always disappoint me, I can't change, my nervous system starts treating those things as important. Think about a teenager in school. If all she talks about are the mean girls, guess who she notices everywhere she goes? The mean girls. There could be 300 students in the hallway, but her brain filters them to the front because that's where her focus is. Now, the mean girls were always there, but so were the kind people, the safe people, the people smiling at her. But her filter was trained to notice threat. So the goal of this work is not perfection. The goal is awareness. Learning to step back and ask, what story am I telling myself right now? What assumptions am I making? Can I prove this? Is there another way to look at this? This is a skill. And like every other skill, it has to be practiced intentionally before it becomes natural. But once you start doing this work, you stop reacting to every thought like it's a fact. And that changes everything. At Mending Minds, we believe that understanding yourself is the first step towards changing yourself. Take some time, reflect on how these concepts show up in your own life. Notice your thoughts, your focus, and the stories that you tell yourself throughout the day. Then practice making small, healthy, helpful shifts, because real change starts with intentional action. Be intentional until it's habitual. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.